Bet I'm going to cover another why nobody wants to tank in WoW Mythic Plus video, and this time apparently it's from this man who's supposed to be a tank main, and he actually done a lot of raiding and stuff, so I can take his word as like solid, because I'm a tank main. I already said that, and to be honest, I didn't want to tank in World of Warcraft anymore because all of the toxic behavior and retail mentality, and unfortunately it even seeped into classic World of Warcraft. So yeah, it just really feel bad tanking, because whenever you do one thing that makes the whole Mythic Plus experience get stalled by 20 seconds, you're out. They literally would kick you, they call you names, they're gonna ostracize you, because that's what WoW players do nowadays. It's almost like the people making the game.
If you've ever tried to queue for a Mythic Plus dungeon as a DPS, then you know the feeling. You open the group finder, you look for your tank, and there's nobody. Meanwhile, DPS players are sitting in queue for
Bro, there are 9 million players playing WoW right now. Yeah, like 9 million bots.
20 to 40 minutes and wondering why there are no tanks. It's not broken, there just aren't enough tanks. And as a tank main myself for more than 7 years, I want to explain why that exactly is. So welcome back to my channel. I recently started pushing Mythic Plus again, and the first thing I noticed was how insanely hard it is to find a tank as a DPS player. DPS players are everywhere, healers are manageable, but tanks, well, good luck. This has been a problem in WoW for years, probably as long as the game has had group content. And it comes down to a few very specific reasons that most people don't really think about. So let's just go through them. So the first reason is actually the most obvious one, and it's the one that scares most people away before they even try. Tanks cannot make mistakes. Not in a way.
Yes, there it is. He literally started a video by saying that. And again, this is what I said earlier. Tanks are supposed to be, or sorry, expected to be, those like hardcore dudes who just know every single thing about the dungeon they're running. And that is the dumbest thing ever, because by doing so, you're literally preventing new players for even trying a tank. Like, from even trying to tank, right? Because they're not going to do that. If a new player is going to try a tank and make a mistake and everyone just yells at him, then he's just gonna go DPS. And nobody would be willing to tank afterwards. You're essentially creating a pool of all the boomers, such as myself, playing tanks, and that's it. You have no new blood coming into the game, and then you're eventually gonna be left with nothing. And I think we're seeing that now clearly. You have to wait for a tank, like what, 20-30 minutes? It's crazy, especially when you're pushing high keys and all of that stuff. No, personally for me, again, I'm a tank main. I won't mind because I'm gonna find a group like that. It doesn't matter to me. But for other people and for the future health of this game, you gotta change that. But Blizzard constantly cultivates a community that all they know is look about graphs and analyze features that nobody really cares about. No one is allowed to make a mistake anymore. You're expected to watch 7 different guides before you do anything inside of the game. And if you do one thing wrong, everyone gonna let you know.
A DPS can make a mistake. If a DPS player messes up a mechanic, maybe they take some extra damage, maybe they die. The group can usually just...
Yeah, why do you chose the tank life? Because tank life is best life. I love tank because it just fits the fantasy so much. Because I love to be the man in charge. I love to charge head first into battle. That's why I play warrior like an idiot. Because, you know, I'm an orc main and a horde gank forever. But, you know, I just love it. It just fits the fantasy and I love the immersion. I love being in the thick of it. It's really fun for me. So, it's not for everyone, I'm aware. But for me, just like really, really great. I mean, you don't like casters running ahead and pulling everything. You'd be surprised, for the most part, it's just rogues and hunters.
Recover. A healer picks them up, the fight continues. If a tank messes up, the group wipes. Full stop. Definitely on higher level of Mythic Plus. If you drop aggro as a tank, the mobs run into the group and start killing everyone. If you face the boss the wrong way, a cleave hits everyone. If you miss an interrupt, the whole group is in danger. Every single pool, every single pack, every single boss, the tank is the one holding it all together. And that level of responsibility where your mistakes immediately and visibly affect 5 people is something most players simply don't want to sign up for.
And who's to blame for that? That's right, Blizzard. Because Blizzard designed the fights to be that way. And that's what I always say, people. It's not by a coincidence, it's by design. That's how Blizzard made the game. That's how they made the dungeon, and they knew there's gonna be like 80% responsibility on the tank. And it's just way too much. It should never be the case. Like, they should change that, but of course, they're not listening and they don't care. They're like, oh, but, you know, the big guild did it in like 5 minutes and they did it so easily. Like, it's an easy dungeon. Bro, nobody cares. Nobody cares about the 1%ers, okay? Just literally aim your game to be good for the 70 to 80% of the player base in the middle. And that's it. But it's just so crazy. I mean, yeah, sound like a bunch of Overwatch players queuing up in WoW. Yeah, to be fair, in every single game where you have Holy Trinity, nobody would play tank and a healer. It just, everyone wants to DPS. It just, you know, it is what it is, right? Like, DPS tends to be more appealing to most people. Yeah, you can't really just go away with that. It's just, like, reality. But that's why you need to make tanks more appealing, which I guess he's going to talk about in his video, so I'm not gonna go into that right now.
It's not that tanks are necessarily more skilled than any other roles. It's just that their mistakes are more immediately punished and more visible. There's nowhere to hide when you are the tank. So, which brings me to the second reason, and this one is less about skill and more about the psychology. Tanking means being responsible for the group, not just for your own performance, but for everyone. You decide the pace of the run, you decide when to pull and how many mobs you pull. When to use defensive cooldowns, when to push forward, and when...
You're wrong about that. It's the Hunter player who decides the pace of the run, because once they pull, if they die, they're gonna blame you.
When to slow down. If the run goes badly, everyone looks at the tank first. Too slow? It's the tank's fault. If you're going too fast, people can't keep up and even die. It's the tank's fault. Wrong route, it's the tank's fault.
So true.
That kind of social
So true. It's literally the tank responsibility to look at the 4 idiots he's playing with and gauge how much they can withstand before they crumble. I mean, if you have like fast-paced team or like a slower group, you need to adjust yourself accordingly, but they have the leniency of just have to follow you, and that's it. And that's why whenever I lead a group, I'll tell them, hey, I'm kind of new to this dungeon, so if I fumble, like, be cool with it, right? And if some people want to create after that, like, good, okay, we solved the problem right out of the gate. It's great. But if they're cool with it, okay, great. Like, we can go together. We can have some fun. And I think it's just a matter of communication, but unfortunately, that too was lost upon World of Warcraft.
Pressure is genuinely uncomfortable for a lot of players, especially in a game where strangers in a group can be, let's say, less than patient. Most people play games to relax, to have fun, to do their job and not have to worry about 5 other people's experience.
Not WoW players, though.
Tanking takes that away completely. You're always the person in charge, whether you want to be or not. And for a lot of players, that's simply not fun enough to be worth it. The third reason is one that people don't talk about enough. And it's the one I think is most underestimated. Tanking requires serious preparations. As a DPS, you can show up to a Mythic Plus dungeon, follow the tank, press your rotation and have a perfectly fine run. As a tank, that's not an option. You need to know the route before you even zone in, which packs to pull, which ones to skip, how to hit the right enemy count for the key.
Bro, look at that. Just literally take a look at that. It's so pathetic and sad. And again, this is entirely on Blizzard. Like, this is Blizzard's fault. You don't need to memorize 700 different routes for one map instead of just enjoying the game. Like, you don't. Just make a good game. Just simplify this. You don't need all of that. And I mean, Blizzard did start to simplify a little bit when it comes to add-ons, but they still have much more work to do when it comes to Mythic Plus and rating.
Get it wrong, and you either run out of enemies before the timer or pull too much and wipe the group. You need to know the abilities of every single mob in every single dungeon, which casts need to be interrupted, Which ones need to be stopped with a stun? Which ones will be put the group in danger if you let them go through? And you need to know this for every dungeon in the current rotation, and not just one, all of them. You need to know your own defensives.
Oh
When
man.
to use them.
Oh man, this seriously makes me just so frustrated because I'm gonna push high keys whenever I start playing Midnight. I think next month. It's just I really don't want to play this game now.
How to rotate
really don't.
them so you're never caught without a cooldown when you need one. And all of this
I really
needs to
don't want
happen
to.
in real time. While you're also holding aggro, positioning the boss, waiting for mechanics, and setting the pace for the group. The mental load of tanking is genuinely significant. It's the role with the highest barrier to entry, not because the class is harder to play, but because the knowledge requirement is so much higher than any other role. A DPS player can be good without knowing much about the dungeon. A tank cannot. The fourth reason is one that doesn't get talked about much, and it's one that's actively making the tank shortage worse in Midnight right now. The WoW community can be brutal to tanks. Make one mistake as a DPS and nobody says anything. Make
This.
one mistake as a tank, wrong pull, missed interrupt, slightly too slow, and someone in the group will let you know about it immediately. And this happens constantly in perk groups. There was a post recently on the
Well, just remind them that they are a bunch of nobodies living inside of their mother basement. Immediately counter them with some cold, hard facts. And that way, you will always come on top.
WoW subreddit from a player who spent a month trying to learn tanking, genuinely putting in the effort, and gave up completely. Not because of
Understandably
the
so.
difficulty, because of the constant criticism and negativity from other players every time something went wrong. His conclusion was simple. The community itself is responsible for the tank shortage. And the sad
Obviously.
result is that experienced tank
But it's also Blizzard. I just want you guys to make absolutely sure that, like, you know that, okay? It's Blizzard's fault as well. It's not only the community, because Blizzard is the one that pushing and cultivating this type of audience.
stop pugging entirely. They only tank for friends and guildies where they know the environment is safe, which make the pug tank
Safe
shortage
environment in
even
World of
worse for
Warcraft.
everyone else. It's a cycle that's very hard to break, and it starts with how we treat the tanks who are actually trying. So that's it. That's why there are never enough tanks in Mythic Plus. The margin for error is the smallest of any role. The social responsibility is the heaviest, the preparation required is the highest, and the community makes it harder than it needs to be. Most players look at that list and decide it's simply not worth it. And honestly, that's a completely reasonable conclusion. But if you ever thought about trying tanking, I'd encourage you to give it a shot. Because for all of those reasons, it's also one of the most rewarding roles in the game when it clicks.
It is.
If
It
you
is.
want to see more Mythic,
And that's the reason I enjoy it too. By the way, great video. It's the first video I watched from this guy. Excellent video. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. Obviously, you should watch it for yourself and give this man a like. It was fantastic video. And, you know, I actually wanted to give one more example before closing it off. So basically, the previous time I reacted to a similar video such as this, many people, like many WoW retail enjoyers and defenders, have told me in the comments, if you don't know how to play a tank, you're wasting my time. And in my head, okay, I just want to answer this in the video. I didn't want to respond to each and every one of them because it's like, it's meaningless, right? You can't really speak sense to them. So whenever you pull out the you waste my time argument, I will always say to you, brother, you're playing an MMORPG. You are not playing a single player game. If you come to an MMORPG and expect people to behave the way you want them to, you're a dumbass, okay? Like, it's plain on the table. I just want to lay it out there for you guys, okay? You should never expect people in such a vast community to act according to what your belief is. Don't be that stupid. If you want to be part of a hardcore guild, awesome, join that guild. But if you're playing openly and recruiting people for a group, you should understand and expect people from different levels of difficulty to come to you, or different play styles, right? So you should always prepare yourself to meet different kinds of people. And you know what's the funny part is? It used to be the best thing about MMORPGs, right? You didn't know who you were about to encounter. But nowadays, everyone expects you to be this like Chuck Norris of gaming whenever it comes to World of Warcraft. Right? You're supposed to know it all. You're supposed to do everything. You're supposed to be the big guy. You're supposed to take charge. Like, bro, maybe instead of ostracizing people, try to teach them a better way. Try to help your fellow players, but no. All they do is scare them away, and then they are surprised their community is dying. And then they are surprised they're waiting 30 minutes for a battleground or for a Mythic Plus. It's so dumb. WoW retail players cannot even see what they're doing wrong. It's like every single WoW player is pirate software. It's just insane. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say for that topic for now.